We're at the Martinsville Bridge, the old covered bridge just outside of Martinsville, Ohio. And only, like, I don't know, if I had to guess, I'm going to say about 25 miles from my home there in South Lebanon. And tell you, I just, I haven't done a review on my old Himalayan since way back in Texas, early on in the trip. And, I could obviously just wait until I'm home and a day or two later go ahead and do one. But I thought, you know what, I should do it while still on the road and, almost home. Because I'm close enough to where I know everything I need to know about the bike and how I feel about it. So, that last 25 miles home is not going to change a thing. So, that said, you guys have heard me talking about him this whole trip, old Zeke. I left on May the 10th, just after 12 noon that Tuesday. And now it's September the 20th, up, I don't know, in the afternoon. It's like 2:45 and exactly 19 weeks to this day. It's also Tuesday, so 19 weeks to this day, I saddled old Zeke there and started riding. And again, as you all know, I went from home there in South Lebanon to Savannah, Georgia, to Key West, then along the Gulf Coast, and eventually over to through Oregon and hit Northern California there at Crescent City, went up the Oregon coast, and then went into Washington State and Rainier, and then back over to the Olympic Peninsula and did that whole thing. And then from there, Sumas, Washington, crossed up into British Columbia and headed for Alaska. And spent not quite 2 weeks there in Alaska before heading east again, and dropped back into the went back through the Yukon again, British Columbia, and then Alberta, and then dropped back down into Montana, went across North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the UP of Michigan, where we crossed over there at Sault Ste. Marie, and went into Ontario, across Ontario, Quebec, and then into Maine, and then Maine over to the coast there at Lubec, and then started heading southwest, I guess you'd say, and did New Hampshire and Vermont, then New York, Pennsylvania, and Virginia, West Virginia. Well, actually, it's a small section of West Virginia, but then West Virginia again. I was just there yesterday, and then into Ohio yesterday afternoon. And all that said, we're in the last 25 miles of home, and that's for a grand total of it's like 22,300 miles, give or take, something like that. Which I'll figure all that out later, exactly, or as close as I can. I guess the one thing I figure with getting some services on the bike and tire changes and all that, they definitely rode old Zeke, just a few miles. So I'll probably, once I come up with my total miles, I'll probably deduct like 10 miles or something like that. But like I said, as of right now, it's like 22,300, something like that. But all that said, I've ridden that little bike this far, and I have had no trouble with it. People's asked me if I've had trouble, and it seemed like, I guess, just thinking I have. I'll say, not much or just a little bit, but the reality is I have had ultimately no trouble with it. That video in Texas, I did complain about the rear tire and how difficult that was to replace. And it was. it really was. Again, just an odd size, and it was extremely difficult to replace that first time. But then, eventually, again, I'm on the fourth one now, and those Dunlops that I have on there now, the Trail Max Mission on the front and the back, are amazing tires, and I'm gonna have to figure out how many miles are on each. I'm gonna say the front. I know the front's got over 11,000 miles on it, and it still looks pretty if you can see that. I mean, that thing's still got plenty of tread, and like I said, it's got over 11,000 miles. I'm so impressed. And again, I'll have to figure out what the rear's got on it as far as miles wise. But I mean, that was replaced in let's see, in Anchorage, and again the front was replaced in Seattle before that. And but again, that rear has got some great tread on it still as well. I mean, plenty of tread, and we're talking thousands of miles. If I had to guess, I'm going to say probably that's about 7,000 or 8,000 miles in that rear, which is great. So again, yeah, the Trailmax Missions, and I don't think specifically that they were that expensive. But anyhow, yeah, great tires in my opinion. I guess that is going to be my tire. But again, back to old Zeke, back to the Royal Enfield Himalayan, 411 cc's. And you know, I've talked before about the power. It's just lacking in power, but it's not lacking in power for what it is. I mean, it's 411 cc's. So you know, I mean, it's so that's not, you know, a negative thing about the bike. I mean, that's what size it is. That said, I have heard that Royal Enfield's going to do the Himalayan in a 650. If they do, I believe that will be the perfect, and I mean absolute perfect adventure bike. Because again, in my opinion, Zeke, the 411, he's perfect in my book. You know, again, you know, so you know, you can't roll 70 miles an hour, you know, comfortably, or I can't, not with me and all that stuff on there. But, you know, for the most part, I didn't want to do that. But, you know, I've said before, there were some times on even 2-lane roads out west with the speed limit of 65 and 70. And, you know, and again, going against a headwind and just a slight incline, I just couldn't get any more out of him than 50 miles an hour. And so, you know, it needed a bit more, but, you know, we managed, and it's okay. Again, I think ultimately it takes nothing away from the bike. Because, you know, 411 cc's is what it is. So, you all know this. I mean, I love the bike. And you don't want to see me get emotional talking about him. So I'm not going to. Had to fight it back there. But I've got nothing but good things to say about this bike. You know, to ride it, like I said, this far, and, you know, to think, you know, I've had issues. I think, well, no, my issues, you know, again, was getting the rear tire replaced. But that's not, you know, that's not mechanical. Here recently, when I thought it was having issues, when it sounded kind of clunky up underneath, I figured out what that was. Actually, you know, I carry a chain lube, and I've lubed the chain, you know, countless times and do it every so often. But I have realized what has happened, I believe, is those times it got clunky like it did was after rains. And I guess I kind of had been lubing according to miles, not necessarily, you know, rain or not, you know, but I decided, you know, if it's within so many miles, it's still good. And I wasn't worried about lubing the chain. But what I've realized after a rain, you know, especially riding in, you know, a decent amount of rain, I think the chain was getting a little, you know, just rusty or stiff or something like that. And henceforth it would feel clunky. And realizing that, you know, I've started lubing the chain after it gets wet, or I did lube the chain after it got wet, you know, a couple times now, and I haven't had that issue anymore. So I'm convinced that's all it was. So again, no real issue with the bike. It's just, you know, that was an error on my part for, you know, not lubing right away after the chain got wet. So yeah, it's something, you know, again, you can lube your chain as you should. And same token, I wouldn't mind to maybe upgrade to a better chain. I have replaced one chain, you know, since we've been on the road. So yeah, nothing but good things to say about this bike. And, you know, 22,000 miles, you know, straight. I've had maybe 5 0 days where I didn't suit up and ride. So that was riding most days, at least, you know, even just a little bit. And mechanically, I'm thinking about it as I'm saying it, yeah, mechanically there has been no issues. None. I was told at one place that they thought I had this shaft oil leak. but I never once saw any evidence of a leak. And I really believe what it was happening, it was just burning some oil. I have went to a while ago back in Moab. Back in Moab, I went to a full synthetic. And here recently, when I met Phelps up there in Vermont, there at Lake Champlain, that writer I told you all about, he was saying he had heard something about the Royal Enfields burning oil, or maybe just bikes in general. I don't remember exactly, but if at full synthetic. And, you know, maybe that was the issue, because I was definitely, you know, having to add oil, but I never saw any evidence of a leak whatsoever. So it might have been burning some oil, but that's all right too. You know, you check it and carry some with you and add to it as needed. And again, maybe if I went back to the semi-synthetic that Royal Enfield recommends, might not even have that issue or as much. So again, that's not really an issue in my book. This bike has had no issues. I cannot say enough good things about the Himalayan. And if they do make a 650, that might, you know, God willing, that might be my next bike. The Continental is a bike which is a 650. A Royal Enfield 650 Continental is one that I would absolutely love to have. And so between the two, maybe either or, if not both, maybe in the somewhat near future, again, God willing. And all that said, I'm like I said, almost home, and I'm gonna need a job before too long. So Royal Enfield, I need a job, man. I could be a sales rep for you here in North America. I've got the experience on the bike. You know, it's a lot of miles, and I believe I would do you. I believe I could do well for you, singing the praises of your product. So like I said, whether it be a job as a sales rep, or if you all want to put me on the new 650 Himalayan, or again a Continental, I'll ride it around the world for you, or wherever you want me to take it. Be more than glad to. So just wanted to throw that in there and tell you all how much I appreciate your product. You know, again, I tell people all the time that this bike, I'm not sure what the price is now. I guess it's went up a little bit, but when I bought it, it was like $5,000, brand new. There's nothing else comes close to that. You know, the other bikes like the KLR 650, the Kawasaki, which is a legendary great bike, those start, I believe, around $7,000, if not more. And I would think if you would ride one of those a straight 22,000 miles, who knows, you might not have any problems, but I don't think it'd do necessarily any better either. And I don't even, you know, for that matter, I don't know that it would hold up as well as the Himalayan did. The Himalayan it's nothing fancy, but it's solid, and it's ultimately it's all you need. And it's been all I need, and I'm just so thankful for it. And again, for this amazing adventure that I've had these past 19 weeks, for everything about it. I can't thank God enough. And I thank you all again for watching. And I'm about to saddle the Mount Old Zeke again here and head on the rest of the way home. So God bless y'all, and again, thank you so much.